The cryopod hissed open, and Mira's lungs burned as they dragged in their first breath in 200 years. Her vision swam, blurry shapes dancing in the sterile white light. Something warm pressed against her cheek, soft, furry, impossibly close. "You're awake. I missed you." The voice was high-pitched, eager, belonging to something that shouldn't exist on this ship. Mira's eyes focused slowly, and she found herself staring into a pair of enormous golden eyes set in a face covered with silver-blue fur. The creature, no. The child had pointed ears that twitched with excitement, and a small pink nose that wrinkled as it grinned. "Riki," Mira croaked, her voice rough from disuse. "Step back. Protocol. Action." "Riki." The cub's ears drooped, but it obeyed, shuffling backward on 4 digitigrade legs. It couldn't have been more than 3 feet tall. A member of the Velkari species, one of the dozen alien races humanity had encountered after the Great Expansion. But what was a Velkari child doing on a human colony ship? Mira sat up slowly, her muscles protesting. The cryobay was wrong. Half the pods were dark, their occupants still sleeping. The other half stood empty, their glass covers shattered from the inside. Emergency lights pulsed red along the ceiling. "Riki, report," she said, her training kicking in despite the fog in her mind. The cub's tail drooped. Everything broke. The adults tried to fix it, but then they all went to sleep in the pods. You were the only one left, but your pod was locked. I couldn't open it until now. Riki's voice trembled. That was 4 cycles ago. 4 cycles. Mira's stomach clenched. In Velkari time, that meant nearly 6 Earth months. "Where are your parents?" "Mira's Earth months. Gone." The word came out small. "Everyone's gone." There was a sickness. The grown-ups said humans couldn't catch it, so they put you in deep sleep to keep you safe. But then they got sicker, and... Riki's ears flattened against its skull. Mira's mind raced through the implications. The Wandering Hope had been a joint venture, humanity's first true partnership with an alien species. 500 humans and 200 Velkari, bound for a garden world in the Kepler system. Something had gone catastrophically wrong. "Show me the bridge," she said, swinging her legs out of the pod. Her joints popped, but nothing felt broken. Humanity's cryotechnology was robust, another thing that had surprised the Velkari when they'd first made contact. Riki led her through corridors that reeked of recycled air and decay. The ship was dying. Mira could hear it in the stuttering hum of the life support systems, see it in the flickering lights and the frost creeping along the walls. They passed empty quarters, abandoned workstations, and one sealed door that Mira chose not to open when she saw the biohazard warning. The bridge was a graveyard of dark screens and silent terminals. Mira slid into the captain's chair. Captain Therrell's chair. She corrected herself, remembering the proud Velkari officer who'd commanded this vessel. Her fingers flew across the manual controls. "Computer, status report." A synthetic voice crackled to life. "Main power at 7%. Life support failing. Hull breach in sectors 4 through 9. Navigation offline. Crew complement. 2. Projected survival time. 48 hours. 48 hours. 48 hours. 2. Her and Riki. Mira pulled up the logs, her heart sinking as she read. The plague had struck fast, a mutation of a common Velkari virus. Harmless until it had jumped species within the closed environment of the ship. The Velkari crew had quarantined the humans in cryosleep as a precaution, then worked desperately to save the ship as their numbers dwindled. In the end, they'd succeeded in keeping the Hope alive just long enough. Long enough for what? To drift dead in space with one human survivor and a child? "Can you fix it?" Riki asked, climbing into the navigation seat. The cub looked so small in the oversized chair. Mira studied the diagnostics. The situation was impossible. They needed a crew of 50 to repair this damage, not one engineer and a child. They needed parts they didn't have, time they didn't possess, and miracles that didn't exist. Humans are supposed to be good at fixing things. Riki continued, its voice hopeful. Captain Thirl said humans never give up. She said that's what makes you scary. Something stirred in Mira's chest, not hope exactly, but something harder, more stubborn. Humans were scary, weren't they? They'd clawed their way up from a death world, survived ice ages and plagues and wars, and then walked out into a galaxy full of species that had evolved on gentle worlds under kind suns. Every alien they'd met had been shocked by humanity's tenacity, their refusal to accept the impossible. Riki, she said slowly, how much do you weigh? The cub blinked. 17 kilos. Why? And you can fit in spaces I can't, right? Small ventilation shafts? Maintenance tunnels? Understanding dawned in those golden eyes. You have a plan. 2. I have something better than a plan, Mira said, bringing up the ship's schematics. I have a human's complete inability to accept death gracefully, and a very brave partner who's going to help me spit in the face of physics. Over the next 43 hours, they worked. Mira rewired systems that should have required a full engineering bay, cannibalizing parts from the dead sectors. Riki crawled through access tunnels too small for adult Velkari or humans, carrying tools and splicing cables with their clever paw hands. When the life support gave out, Mira jury-rigged a CO2 scrubber from medical equipment and prayer. When the reactor threatened to shut down, she bypassed every safety protocol in the manual and 3 that she invented on the spot. This is crazy, Riki shouted over the alarms as Mira cross-wired the navigation computer directly to the emergency thrusters. That's the human way, Mira shouted back, her fingers dancing over controls that sparked and smoked. We're a species that strapped ourselves to controlled explosions just to see what was up there. We made it work through sheer spite and bad decisions. The ship shuddered. Lights flickered. And then, impossibly, the main screen blazed to life, showing a distant star their destination. Still 3 months away at current speed. We're not going to make it, Riki said quietly, reading the same power projections Mira was seeing. No, Mira agreed. But we'll get close enough to broadcast a distress signal. And someone will come. How do you know? Mira looked down at the small alien child who'd kept itself alive for 6 months through courage and hope, who'd waited by her pod every day because they'd promised to protect each other. She thought of Captain Thirl, who'd saved her crew's human friends even as her own people died. She thought of all the ways different species could choose to be better together. Because that's what people do, she said. We don't leave each other behind. 3 months later, when the rescue ships arrived, they found the Wandering Hope barely holding together a human and a Valkyrie cub sharing the last energy bar in the emergency supplies, playing a game with cards made from torn instruction manuals. The rescuers asked how they'd survived. Mira just smiled and ruffled Riki's ears. Humans don't know how to quit, she said. And apparently, we're teaching the galaxy our bad habits.